There's something terrifying happening right now. Millions of people are losing interest in everything. Not just their jobs, not just relationships, but in life itself. 58% of Americans say they feel emotionally numb most days. Antidepressant use is at an all-time high. And here's the part no one's saying: this isn't just a mental health crisis. This is a spiritual shutdown, a warning signal that the system we're living in is collapsing. And if you feel it too, you're not broken. You're waking up. Let me show you exactly what's happening. Dopamine burnout is stealing our joy. Look, I don't think we were meant to live like this. You wake up, the first thing you touch is your phone. Maybe you're laying in bed scrolling before your eyes have even fully adjusted to the light. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and every single one of those apps is blasting your brain with microbursts of dopamine. Quick hits, over and over. That little jolt you used to get from something as innocent as sipping a good cup of coffee or getting a text from a friend, it's gone. It's been chemically drowned out. What we're dealing with here is what neuroscientists now call dopamine desensitization, and it's not a fringe theory. According to a 2024 study out of the Max Planck Institute, habitual exposure to high-stimulation digital content has rewired baseline dopamine thresholds in over 62% of participants aged 18 to 45. That's huge. So if you're feeling like music doesn't move you, food tastes bland, hobbies feel like chores, or even conversations feel like work, it's not in your head. You've been chemically overstimulated for so long that your brain is now underwhelmed by reality. The same way a drug addict stops getting high from the same dose. That's what's happening on a mass scale. And when people say, "I just don't care about anything anymore," I hear that and I think, yeah, that's not laziness. That's neurological damage. We've hijacked our pleasure systems to the point where silence feels suffocating. Stillness feels like depression. But here's the twist. What if this is a sign that we're finally hitting the wall? That our systems are throwing up the white flag? Because you can't sustain 100 dopamine hits a day forever. At some point, your brain goes, "Nope, I'm done." And that disinterest you feel? It's not weakness. It's your body forcing a reboot. This is bigger than just a lack of motivation. It's the natural consequence of a society that's been engineered for constant reward and zero recovery. And now, the system's breaking. Social disconnection is quietly becoming the new normal. Have you noticed it too? How weird it feels now to even pick up the phone and call someone. Or how hanging out with friends feels exhausting. Like small talk takes effort. Like eye contact is a chore. There's something happening on a deep biological level where millions of us are socially tapping out. And no, it's not just introversion or post-COVID hangover. This is different. According to Gallup's 2025 social isolation report, nearly 1 in 4 Americans report having 0 close friends. That's a record. Loneliness isn't just up, it's metastasized into a societal norm. But here's where it gets even darker. We've started convincing ourselves we like it this way. You hear it all the time? "I just prefer my own company now," or "people drain me." And I get it. But I also think we're coping with something much more serious. A collapse in meaningful connection. The constant bombardment of online relationships, fake intimacy through DMs, and algorithmic friendship has eroded our ability to actually bond in real life. Our emotional muscles have atrophied. So when people say they've lost interest in socializing, it's not because they're antisocial. It's because the world made connection so shallow, it doesn't feel worth it anymore. Why go to dinner when you can scroll through 40 people's lives in 5 minutes? Why catch up with a friend when you already saw what they ate for lunch on their Instagram story? And deep down, we know it's hollow, but we're tired, so we retreat. And as we retreat, we forget what joy felt like in a shared moment. The laughter that echoes in a room. The unspoken bond of just being with someone. We're losing interest in everything because the very thing that made life vibrant connection has been reduced to data points. And now, we're starving in plain sight. The death of novelty is quietly driving us mad. There's this eerie thing happening right now, and it's hard to put into words, but you'll know exactly what I mean. Nothing feels new anymore. Not really? Every movie is a remake. Every song is a sample. Every trend feels like a rehash of 2013. Even the memes feel recycled. And it's not just in entertainment, it's everywhere. According to a 2026 report from Nielsen, original scripted TV production dropped 38% year over year, and streaming platforms are shifting overwhelmingly toward reality content and AI-generated filler. We've saturated ourselves with so much content that we've effectively burned through novelty itself. And the scary part is that our brains need novelty. It's not just nice to have, it's biological. Dopamine spikes in response to change, to discovery. So when the world stops giving us new things to discover, our brains start flatlining. That's why you feel numb when you open Netflix and scroll for 45 minutes only to give up. It's not just decision fatigue. It's that you've seen it all. You've consumed more content in the last 5 years than your grandparents did in their entire lives. No wonder you're over it. No wonder books feel boring, music feels stale, and even nature walks can't shake the fog off your brain. You've been through a novelty drought, and it's taking a toll on your sense of wonder. But this isn't just an entertainment crisis, it's a sign that our culture is running out of imagination. We've optimized everything for clicks, trends, and virality. And in the process, we killed risk, we stopped innovating, we're trapped in a loop of safe, predictable, algorithm-approved content. And when the world becomes predictable, it becomes gray. That's why you're losing interest. It's not because you're lazy, it's because your soul is suffocating under the weight of sameness. And maybe that emptiness you feel is actually a compass, a signal that you were built for more than this repetition machine. You were meant to feel awe, and awe is going extinct. Work has lost all meaning, and we know it now. You ever get that creeping feeling that no matter how hard you work, it's not doing anything? Not for you, not for the world, not for your future? That's not laziness. That's not burnout. That's disenchantment. And it's spreading like wildfire. A 2025 report from McKinsey showed that nearly 68% of U.S. workers feel disengaged or emotionally detached from their jobs. And here's the kicker: more than half said they wouldn't even recommend their profession to someone younger. That's not just dissatisfaction, that's a spiritual fracture. We're waking up to the reality that so much of what we've been doing, clocking in, grinding, climbing ladders, isn't just unfulfilling. It's artificial. We're spending years of our lives building things we don't believe in, reporting to people we don't respect, helping companies that don't care if we exist past the next fiscal quarter. And that emptiness you feel when you try to care about your job, when promotions don't feel like wins anymore, when even success feels hollow, that's your subconscious telling you the system is cracked. You've seen too much. You've read the headlines about companies laying off thousands after record profits. You've watched your coworkers disappear overnight, replaced by AI tools or outsourced teams. The world of work has stopped pretending it cares, and in return, so have we. And maybe that's why people are checking out, why we see a surge in quiet quitting, why Gen Z is the first generation to openly reject hustle culture, and why even older workers are fantasizing about escape homesteading, side hustles, minimalist living. We're not lazy. We're done pretending. The interest is gone not because we've failed, but because the illusion has collapsed. And maybe the bigger sign here, the real message, is that we were never meant to define our value by output alone. Maybe that loss of interest is the first step toward rediscovering real purpose, beyond a paycheck. Reality has been replaced with simulation, and our minds can't handle it. Do you know what's really disturbing? The fact that many people now feel more real online than they do in their actual lives. Think about that. We curate our best moments, engineer our identities, crop out the chaos, and then we scroll through everyone else's highlight reels, comparing our private disasters to their public performance. And somewhere along the way, we stopped living. We started performing. We started watching our lives like spectators. This is the simulacra effect, a psychological phenomenon where copies of things become more real to us than the actual thing. And guess what? It's not just a philosophical idea anymore. A 2026 paper from Stanford's Digital Cognition Lab found that heavy social media users show reduced neural response to real-life stimuli, meaning their brains are literally less excited by actual experiences than digital ones. That explains why vacations feel dull, food tastes mid, and conversations feel scripted. Our reality has been displaced. We've built entire worlds inside screens, and those worlds are faster, shinier, louder, and more addictive than the one outside our window. And now, the real world feels boring, dead. It doesn't stand a chance. That's why you're not excited by concerts or new restaurants or travel, because in your brain, none of it can compete with the hyper-edited, algorithm-approved, 5-second dopamine hits we get online. But here's the tragic irony. The more we retreat into these simulations, the more numb we become to actual life. Our emotions flatten, our attention spans evaporate, our capacity for wonder gets buried under layers of filters and content. And what's left is a dull ache, a fatigue, a loss of interest in everything because reality no longer satisfies. That ache you feel? That nothing feels good anymore? It's not your fault. It's the natural withdrawal symptom from a society that replaced truth with spectacle. We're not broken, we're overexposed. And the system was designed that way, to keep us addicted, to keep us detached. But now, we're waking up. And the silence we feel? It might be the beginning of detox. Consumer culture has hit a wall, and we're emotionally bankrupt. Buying things doesn't feel good anymore, and deep down, we all know it. For decades, we were taught to chase happiness through consumption, buy the newest phone, upgrade the wardrobe, take that luxury trip, finance the car, sign up for the subscription, consume, consume, consume. But something has shifted. In 2025, U.S. consumer sentiment hit a 12-year low despite record Black Friday sales. That's not just an economic trend, that's an emotional rejection of a system that promised happiness and delivered debt. Americans are now carrying over $1.13 trillion in credit card debt. And even with all the spending, 75% of people reported they feel less satisfied after purchases than they did just 5 years ago. That's not coincidence, that's exhaustion. We're done. The thrill of buying has worn off because we know it won't fix anything. Not the anxiety, not the disconnection, not the void. And worse, the stuff we're buying feels lower quality, more disposable, less personal. Fast fashion, planned obsolescence, AI-generated junk products, it's all starting to feel like clutter, not comfort. And when the old tricks don't work anymore, retail therapy, trend chasing, impulse upgrades, we're left face to face with ourselves. With silence, with lack. And it's terrifying, because the system never taught us how to sit with that. How to find meaning outside of consumption, how to feel alive without spending money, and now we're all hitting the wall at the same time? That collective boredom, that deep-seated disinterest in everything from shopping to socializing? It's not apathy, it's a reckoning. We're waking up from a multi-decade advertising-induced trance and realizing that fulfillment doesn't come in a box. And that realization? It's disorienting. But maybe it's also a signal. A sign that we're finally ready to stop chasing, stop buying, stop numbing, and start feeling again. We're overstimulated, undernourished, and starving for substance. There's something seriously wrong when we have unlimited access to entertainment, knowledge, stimulation, yet we still feel bored, still feel numb, still feel like nothing matters. And this isn't some poetic observation, it's neurological, it's spiritual, and it's systemic. Right now, the average person is consuming over 11 hours of media per day, according to Nielsen's latest 2026 data. That's YouTube, TikTok, podcasts, 24-hour news, Netflix, and a fire hose of algorithmically tailored noise. You would think that with all this stimulation, we'd be more alive, more curious, more awake. But the opposite has happened. We've become hollow. The flood of surface-level content has replaced depth with dopamine. Instead of reading a book, we scroll headlines. Instead of reflecting, we swipe. Instead of having conversations, we watch strangers argue online. And here's what most people don't realize: our brains were never meant to process this much novelty without integration. You were designed to learn slowly, to reflect, to digest experience like a meal. But now we're being force-fed mental junk food 24/7 with no time to process. And the result is this creeping feeling of, I don't care anymore. Because how can you care about anything deeply when you're being pinged by everything constantly? Our souls are being starved of real nourishment, of silence, of wonder, of awe. And ironically, the more we consume, the emptier we become. We've built a civilization of input without meaning, of motion without purpose, and it's catching up with us. That dead stare in your eyes when the 100th video of the day autoplays, that flat tone in your voice when someone asks how you're doing and you say, fine, that's not depression, it's depletion. You're overstimulated and undernourished, and your mind is revolting. It's saying, no more. It's tuning out the noise in search of something real. And if you feel like everything is gray, like nothing hits, like your interest in life is slipping, it might be because you're craving substance in a world addicted to speed. And that hunger? It's not a flaw. It's a signal. You're not broken, you're starving. The collapse of trust has made belief itself feel pointless. This one runs deeper than most people realize because it's not about boredom. It's about betrayal. We've lived through wave after wave of broken promises, false narratives, corrupted institutions, and shifting goalposts. And now, people aren't just losing interest in hobbies, or work, or media, they're losing interest in belief itself. Think about it. Trust in government? Historic lows. According to Pew Research in 2025, only 16% of Americans say they trust the federal government to do what's right, just about always or most of the time. Trust in the media, below 30%. Trust in public health, education, corporations, tech companies, collapsing across the board. But this goes beyond statistics. It's spiritual erosion. When you can't trust the news, or the medical experts, or even the very systems you grew up believing in, something inside you breaks. And what replaces it is a kind of quiet nihilism, a soft apathy. You start to question everything, not in a curious way, but in a defeated way. What's the point? Becomes your inner monologue. And it's not because you don't want to care, it's because caring feels dangerous now. Because every time you believed in something, it let you down. So now millions of people walk around with this invisible armor of detachment. They don't invest emotionally. They don't buy into causes. They don't engage with news, politics, or even community. Not because they're apathetic, but because they're wounded. And here's the part no one's saying, that loss of interest you're feeling, that flatness when someone brings up a crisis or a new initiative or some solution, that might be trauma, psycho-emotional fatigue. Your heart has been broken too many times by systems that told you they were here to help. And now, like any wounded animal, you're cautious, withdrawn, and yes, bored. But not because you don't care, because you cared too much for too long and it cost you. So what we're seeing now isn't just disinterest, it's grief. And the world doesn't have a roadmap for that. But maybe you don't need to feel guilty about the numbness. Maybe it's not failure, it's mourning. And maybe that means something deeper is waking up underneath the ashes of trust. The world has become unbelievably inauthentic, and we're spiritually allergic to it. You can feel it, in your bones, in your gut, that constant itch that something isn't quite right, but you can't point to exactly what it is. It's not one thing, it's everything. The way people talk now. The weird corporate ads trying to be funny on Twitter. The news anchors pretending to care. The fake TikTok humans with AI-generated voices offering life advice. The influencer videos that start with, "So a lot of you have been asking me," when nobody did. It's all so fake, and we know it. We feel it in our nervous systems. Like a mild electric shock every time we're forced to nod along and pretend this is all normal. But it's not. What we're living through is a full-blown collapse of authenticity, and millions of people are quietly breaking down inside because of it. Our souls are literally rejecting the artificial environments we're drowning in. According to a 2026 Harvard study on emotional congruence and digital interaction, people who spend more than 6 hours a day online, that's most of us, show a significant increase in cognitive dissonance symptoms, anxiety, flat mood, emotional withdrawal. Why? Because they're forced to live in contradiction. Everything is a performance. Every word you say online is curated, scanned, and judged. Every human interaction feels like a game of optics. You can't be vulnerable. You can't be real. You're always watching yourself be watched. And after a while, that pressure cooks your spirit. It kills your ability to feel real joy, to be moved, to care. And here's the part nobody's talking about. This isn't just affecting our digital lives, it's bleeding into our physical reality. People are afraid to say what they really think. They're walking on eggshells at work. They're role-playing in relationships. They're editing themselves in real time, afraid to be seen. And slowly, quietly, they disconnect. Not because they're antisocial, but because they're tired of pretending, tired of lying, tired of being someone they're not just to survive. The disinterest, the numbness, the boredom, that's not apathy. It's self-preservation. You're pulling away because your spirit knows this world isn't safe for truth anymore. And until it is, it's going to protect itself by checking out. It's not the end. It's a defense mechanism. But it is a warning. We're awakening to the truth. This system was never meant to make us whole. This is the one nobody wants to say out loud, but everyone is starting to feel. That eerie realization late at night when the noise dies down and you're alone with yourself and you whisper it, maybe it's not me. Maybe this whole thing is broken. Because deep down, we know. We all know. The economy, the culture, the endless cycle of work, consume, sleep, repeat. It doesn't nourish. It doesn't uplift. It doesn't heal. And for the longest time, we blamed ourselves for not thriving in it. I need more discipline. I need to be more grateful. I should work harder. I should hustle. But now, millions of people are waking up to the truth. This system was never designed for human flourishing. It was built for productivity, for control, for profits. And it treats human beings like batteries drain them, then replace them. We were taught to define success by how much we produce, how well we conform, how efficiently we suppress our pain. And when we started losing interest in it all, when the career stopped feeling fulfilling, when marriage felt like a checklist, when weekends blurred into Monday, we were told something was wrong with us. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe something's finally right. Because what if this boredom, this disconnection, this spiritual fatigue isn't failure? What if it's awakening? What if your soul is sounding the alarm, screaming, you weren't made for this? You weren't born just to grind, to chase debt, to scroll and compare and consume until you die? What if the emptiness you feel is the last step before something real is born inside you? See, disinterest isn't death. It's the pause before rebirth. The caterpillar doesn't die when it cocoons, it dissolves. And that's what's happening to millions of people right now. The old identity, the old value system, the old purpose, it's fading. And yeah, that feels like numbness, like apathy, like nothing matters. But maybe that's because everything we were taught to care about never mattered in the first place. And now, we're finally shedding it. What comes next? That's up to us. But first, we have to stop pretending we're okay in a system designed to break us. Losing interest? It's not your end. It's your signal. That something inside you is still alive, still sacred, and ready to come back. If you're losing interest in everything, it's not a glitch, it's a message. The life you were sold is a lie. The system is draining your soul, and your apathy is the alarm clock. Don't ignore it. Because the next phase isn't boredom, it's collapse.